Hello everyone, this is the recording for the walkthrough for your final project. I have here all of the data that I had to manually export from SurveyMonkey. I went ahead and did that so it wouldn't take so much time. And I'll show you this once we get started on the actual project. So here's SurveyMonkey. And if you remember right, I sent out I sent a survey, I believe, last week. It's created on 3/30, so I sent a survey about 6 days ago, and asking you about your experience at U of L. Now I'm going to use this survey to show you how to do the final project. So this is the design tab, which you all should be familiar with at this time. This is the questions that were asked, all 10 of them. And 1 second, I just got a notification. Sorry about that. All right. So we now have this questions here, and then you can see the preview. So everyone knows. Estimated time to complete 1. Tell me how people completed 66%. And after you do that, you go to your collect responses. You can, it'll ask you. There's your web link that you created. So everyone should be up to this point already. Now the point that everyone is at is the analyze results part after you collect your data. So after you collect your data, it will feed into this. Now you'll notice this little notification up here. It says maximum response limit, and I've reached 40. But, and I got 42 responses, but I had to upgrade to a paid plan to see those last 2. That's not a big deal. We're just missing 2 responses. Not a big deal. So, first and most, you can see the question summaries right here. You can see the breakout for gender. You can see 85% women in the class, 12% men that answered. You can see all this. We have 1 other. You see the states, which is mostly Kentucky, no big surprise here, but you can see other breakouts, such as 3 Indiana, 1 Illinois, Michigan, and someone said Alaska too, so it's right there. And then we have our age group, no surprise here. We are mostly 18 to 24. Here is helpful for academic advisors. These are just little summaries, You take a look here to find insights on your surveys. How helpful has this semester been? Again, kind of a middling response here. How safe? Again, mostly in the middle. How well did professors teach at the survey? And you see it's kind of skewed towards the top, which is honestly good news. Towards well, we had 1 not so well and 1 not so well, not at all well. Everyone else seems to be at least somewhat happy. How would you rate the atmosphere? We have all of that. How stressed? Now we have a top end heavy stress scale as well. No one answered not at all stressed. That's interesting. So, but it's pretty down to. I'm recording. What's up? So we have. How much time do you spend on social media a day? Is under 30 minutes. 30 minutes to an hour. More than an hour or 2. So you could see what's going on here, and then you can see all of this. So let's get down to the next part, which is insights and data trends, which you probably won't be spending a whole bunch of time here. You can see your responses by hour if you're interested in that. Gender if you're interested in that. And then age, helpful. All these kind of charts you can take a look at. Chart type, switch to a line chart if you want. These are probably not so helpful for this assignment, but it's okay. You're not doing like a time thing. But here is the bread and butter, which is your individual responses. So remember we're at the Analyze Results tab. This is the Individual Responses tab. I'm going to go to Respondent 1, which you can do by clicking up here. Okay. So you can pay to export it if you want, but otherwise, if you don't have the paid feature, you have to manually export it. So I'm going to do an example of how to manually export it. I could have just, deleted that. So the first things first, when you're entering data, you create your ID column. And I'm only going to do one. But so ID 1. And then we take a look at our questions. So we had question 1 was gender. So let's go back here. Type that in as gender. Question 2, let me go ahead and make this my alt tab. So question 2, state. So we can go here. Excuse me. Type in state. Age is the next question. So there's a question about age. How helpful has this semester been in for preparing your career? So we'll say career. What did I label that in the master sheet? So we'll just have that as helpful. Next is how helpful has the semester been in? How helpful has been your academic advisor? So it's actually advisor. Next question is the preparing you for your career. So we'll title that career. Next is how safe do you feel on campus? Okay, so we'll go safety. How well do professors teach at this university? How would you rate the atmosphere? We call this atmosphere. Stress. Next, this question asks about stress. And finally, this asks about social media use. So we'll say social media. Cool. So now we have this. Just to make sure it matches what I said. I said semester. But that is how successful this. How would you rate this semester for how helpful it's been? So we now have our standard sheet. So now we can start filling out this data. So we'll go ahead and go back to table. So this is a woman. So type in from Kentucky, because question 2, from Kentucky, between the ages of 18 and 24. Very helpful. She said that her advisor was very helpful. She says the semester has been barely helpful this semester. She feels somewhat safe on campus. One of our negative responders for the professors, not at all well. The atmosphere was somewhat nice. Extremely stressed. And they spent more than 3 hours on social media a day. And that's how you fill that data in. Okay. Now you would just do this as you do this for every respondent. In this case, I had 42, but it only let me show me 40. So I did that 40 times. So we can type 2, 3, and then I can just highlight this and drag this blue dot down all the way down, and it kind of highlights it right. All right. Now that you've seen this is the actual enter data. As you can see, it is the same woman there. Not at all well, somewhat nice, extremely stressed, 180 plus. And this is all of the responses for the data. So now let's now that we have the data imported from SurveyMonkey, let's go ahead and pull up the actual survey assignment. So here's the final project. See, this is due on May 2nd, so it's due in a month. So use the data you get on SurveyMonkey for this. We have our hypothesis, but well, for this one we don't. And the hypothesis is, okay, hypothesize that stress, okay, we'll say that our what we're of interest in, okay, is we'll say that stress is going to influence all of these, okay? So these are all dependent on stress. So we have a lot of dependent variables, but let's just kind of pick one dependent variable. We'll say how helpful the semester has been is influenced mostly by stress, okay? So our dependent variable here, we'll say that stress influences how helpful that semester has been, okay? So now we have to create an introduction PowerPoint or a Google slide introducing your topic. In this case, would be stress's impact, stress's influence, okay, on semester satisfaction. So we collect your full data and input it into our data sheet. So that's step 2, which is right here. Now we're on step 3. We have to code the data. So let's go ahead and kind of delete this sheet right here. Okay. Now also notice that I have 2 tabs. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click this little white box. It's in between A and 1. Right click, copy. I'm going to paste this in my data to make a copy of my data. It's very good to make copies of your data. And if you want to filter it, you can just click the 1 row over here. Go to here, there's a little funnel here. Sometimes it's hidden behind 3 dots, but you can click that and that kind of lets you filter it. But let's make a code book. Title this code book. Okay, and we're going to take the same variables. Copy that out, paste it over. Now we have our code book. So for coding, we can go ahead and delete the gender, the ID tab rather. So for coding, we'll say 0 equal male, 1 equal female, 2 equal other. And we did have one other response in there. It's response number 40, and you can see it down here, right there. So, and then first, what we're going to do for this one is, because we had so many Kentucky responses, we're going to say Kentucky equals 0, other equal 1. Age, let's go ahead and take a look at the age coding. So let's go ahead and go to our survey design, right? So here's our age, under 18. So we'll be 0 equal under 18. 18 to 24 is 1. 25 to 34 is 2. 35 to 44 is 3. 45 to 54 is 4. You see, I'm just putting numbers on. I'm assigning a number for every category. Is what I'm doing. Oh, my goodness, made a typo. 55 to 64 is 5. 65 to 74. So these are just increments of 10. Go ahead and kind of fixing this alignment here so it doesn't look all funky. And then 7 is 75 or older. Now we're going to do that for all the responses. So extremely helpful, very helpful, somewhat helpful, not so helpful, not at all helpful. And we're going to instead of coding these zeros, we're going to go with advisor. We're going to go zeros. We're going to go 0 equal not at all helpful. Okay, try to code it so that your positive values are positive, higher numbers. So 1 is not so helpful. Two is somewhat helpful. 3 is very helpful. And 4 is, I believe, extremely helpful. Yes, so we have 5 categories, and I believe the next one is the same responses. It is. Copy that over. Now you see extremely, very, somewhat, extremely, very, somewhat, extremely, very, somewhat, extremely, very, somewhat. So we can code these all the same thing, essentially. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to paste that out. And I'm just going to take out the helpful part. And you can see kind of how it fits. And suddenly we can quickly code it out all the way to stress. And then finally, we have a different kind of category for social media usage with 0 being under 30 minutes. 1 being 30 to an hour. 30 minutes, 30 to 60. 2 being between an hour and 2. So 61 to 120. 3 is 121 to 180, and then our fourth category in this case is 180 plus. And this is our code book for the project. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make another sheet, and I'm going to say coded data. Coded data. I'm going to move my master data to the front tab. This is just me organizing. You can organize it whichever way you want. So, and then I'm going to take this, copy it over, and paste it, and we're going to start coding this. Okay. So first and foremost, put a filter on. Kind of highlight the column you're interested in. Call it coding. Whichever column, right? You can just click the A, D, B, C, E, F, whatever, right? And you just have to highlight the whole column, right? Just like so. So once you highlight it, hit Control plus F on your keyboard. It will open up this little section over here to the right. Hit these triple dots. And what we're going to do is we're going to code. So coding 0 is male, 1 is female, 2 is other. So we're going to find male. Replace that with 0. We're going to make sure that we match the entire cell contents and match the case, right? And now we can replace it. For female, we coded that 1, if you remember, and we're going to replace all of those as well. And then finally, other is 2. And this should only replace 1, and as you can see, it did only replace 1. All right, so that is our first column coded. Same deal with here. Control F. Find Kentucky. And remember, we coded Kentucky as 0. And other is 1. Okay, so replace with 0. So replace all of those. Now to quickly code the rest of them, because the rest of them are other, we're going to click on this little triangle here in the filter. We're going to select all, and then we're going to exclude Kentucky, which is not there. In other words, we're excluding 0. So hit OK. And what we're going to do is we're going to replace these with 1, but not the blank, okay? The blank is missing data because that person chose not to answer the question. I'll get to that later. All right. Now, advisor. So, well, we got to get age, actually. So for this one, same deal. Highlight it, Control plus F. We're going to find, We didn't have any under 18 responses, so we don't have to like code for it. But 18 through 24 was coded as 1. And we're going to match the case, match entire cell contents, and replace all of them. Okay, not a big deal. 25 through 34 is 2 because we're doing this in logical order. And 35, we're just going to go all the way through. 45 through 54, 4. 55 through 64. I don't think we had anyone older than that. We did not. All right, advisor. All right, so what we're going to do here, I'm just going to do it. We're going to do these two at the same time. Well, no, somewhat helpful. Yeah, they were coded the same thing. We're going to do these two at the same time. And we'll go that. So 0 being not at all helpful, which is what we have it coded as. Go back to our codebook. 0 is not at all helpful. Control find. We're going to find not at all helpful. We're going to replace this with zeros. Match the entire case. Replace all. Replace one instance with not at all helpful. Not so helpful is the next one, which is coded 1. Replace this with 1. Replace all. We found 4 instances of not so helpful. Somewhat helpful is with 2. And remember, I'm coding 2 questions at once here. Code this with 2. Replace all. Next is, I believe, very helpful. It is. Code with 3. Then extremely helpful. Code with 4. All right. So we did miss a couple here. We have extremely helpful. There's probably some miscoding, which is, and this is from question 5. We got barely helpful, which was coded as 1. Gonna go fix that. Extremely helpful, coded as 4. Extremely not helpful, which was coded as 0. Barely helpful, coded as 1, 4, 1, 1, 4. There we go. Safe. So for safety, need somewhat. Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to look for control find. We're going to say not so safe. We're going to match the entire cell match case and cell's contents, and this is 1. Just raw checked it because I was unsure. Not at all safe is 0. No matches found. Then we're going to turn off the match case and match entire cell contents for the next ones. And we're going to say somewhat. And we're going to speed this up quite a bit. Okay, we're going to highlight everything here. Control find. Somewhat. And then we're going to, somewhat was coded universally as 2. So replace all of that. See how it messed up? It says 2 safe. So what we're going to do is we're going to undo that. and we had to code it because I didn't set it up appropriately. But replace all of that. Not at all safe is 0. Replace all. Not so safe is 1. Replace all. We've already done very safe, somewhat safe. So we're going to go with very safe, which was 3. And finally, extremely safe would be 4. All right. Now we're just going to hold this. Oops. Let's undo that. I made a mistake, made a miswhack. Replace that with, there we go. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to replace extremely. Well, so this one was like well, right? So we're going to go extremely well. Replace all. Extremely nice. Replace all. Extremely stressed. Replace all. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. So we're going to go very stressed. Replace that with 3, just to make sure. Very stressed was 3. Replace all. Very nice. Replace all. Very well. Replace all. See, we're slowly starting to chip away at this. Somewhat well. We're going to replace that with a 2. Make sure. Somewhat is 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Yep. 2. Somewhat nice. Oops. Leave the wrong one. And then stressed. Next would be not so. We're replacing that with 1. Keep on wanting to delete the first part. This is nice, not so nice. Someone thinks campus is ugly. Not at all well. Not so well. Replace. And finally, we don't have to do anything with safe. So next we will do zeros. So this is not at all well. Replace all. Not at all safe. Not at all nice. We'll go nice. No matches found. Not at all stressed. No matches found. And I think we're done coding. Yes, we are. All right. Finally, social media consumption. You can see here, our codebook just says 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and increasing order. So we're going to do control find. We're going to say, open up our dots, find 0 through 30, I believe it's what it's 0 through 29 is what I coded it as in here. And we're going to replace this with 0. We're going to replace all. Undo that because I messed up. Make sure you match your case and your entire cell contents, otherwise you're going to have a lot of fun. Replace figuring that out, so replace all. Next is 30 through 60. We're going to replace it. This is in minutes, by the way. 30 minutes to 60 minutes, and then 61 minutes through 120 minutes, or, over an hour up to 2 hours. So 120 over, 2 hours to 3 hours. And then finally, more than 3 hours, or 180 minutes. Replace with 4. And now we have our data fully coded. We were missing 121, because this is just me typoing it when I was putting it out. This person was 121, but we just check. We're going to just check. This was ID 13, so let's go take a look at what respondent 13 said. Where are you, ID 13? So ID 13. This is another reason why you assign identifiers to all your respondents. That way you can, they said more than 2 hours to 3 hours. So more than 2 hours to 3 hours. So indeed, I just typoed that in. So this was a category 3 response. All right. We now have our data fully coded, except for a few blanks. Those are missing datas. Don't worry about them. It's the best you can do. All right. Now we have that. Now let's move on to the next step. Do descriptives, which is univariates for all variables, mean, median, mode, minimum, maximum. Also provide one measure of variance. All right. So for ordinal data, which is this is almost entirely ordinal data, you cannot really do a mean, and that's okay. But you can do, because we did them in ranking order, so you can calculate a mean. It just won't be a great mean. Okay. So let's go ahead and do the calculations for this. So on our ID, we'll go mean, median, mode, max, min, and standard deviation. And we'll do a variance too. Variance. All right. So to do this, we're going to go equal mean, equal average in sheets? Equal average. Go from 40 to 1. Ignore the autofill for this one. So now we have that. And we can and we're going to go equal median, same deal, okay? Same deal. Equal mode. Equal max, which should be our other, which is the 2. Equal minimum for this, which will be min. Standard deviation, we're not actually taking a standard deviation on gender or anything that's, number-wise for that matter. We're just putting this in so we can take a quick scope of all of them. Okay. So now we have all this filled out. This is equal average, highlight the column. Equal median, highlight the column. Equal mode, highlight the column. Equal max, highlight that column. So on and so forth. After we have all that, you highlight the entire thing here. So you highlight all, you go from B45 to B51. This is B, and there's your numbers. Then you click your blue box, and you drag it underneath every column you have. And what this will do, it'll quickly calculate all your numbers. Oh, we forgot to code age. Let's go ahead and code age real quick. So we're going to highlight age manually. Control find. So we didn't have any under 18. So we don't have to worry about 18 through 24. Replace that with 1. Match the case. Replace all. 30. I thought we did. This feels like I already have, but I guess not. 25 through 34. Replace 2. 35 through 44. Replace all. 55 through 64. That's a 4, because it feels like I really did do this. Yeah. All right. So we have our age, and you see it calculated down there. All right. So we have our advisor. So all this came out. We have the minimums, the maximums, which satisfies the conditions for step 4. Now you have to report these values and what they mean on a table in Word, and then paste this onto a PowerPoint slide, which is your PowerPoint presentation, okay? So by reporting this, let's say for gender, you can just report this as the 3 results were mostly women. okay, through your median or your mode. You'll be able to report this in percentages too when we get to a more detailed breakout. If you want to, you can highlight your entire gender column. You can insert chart. You can you don't want to do a histogram. And then you got to customize pie chart. Why is it doing this? We'll get on that later, but it's for some reason it's locked into time. I don't know why it's thinking this is time. I'll troubleshoot that later. But you can do a little percent breakout, and if you go to SurveyMonkey, it does that for you. So you go to your analyze results. You want to go to your question summaries. And you can see here that 85% of your sample is women. So on this state, again, mostly Kentucky. You can report this through your median, your mode. Age. Now this one will be a bit more interesting. The age, you can somewhat put this on average. Remember how I said you can't really do averages on ordinal data? This is ordinal data. Now you could have asked straight up for age, or I could have asked straight up for age, and could have got an interval ratio response here. But I wanted to keep everything to ordinal data for this one. So we have a mean of 1.25, meaning most of the age range is around 18 through 24. And we have, very occasionally a few coming out of that. And you can see that in the data play out. We have a few 2s, a few 1 4. So standard deviation, variance, how much the data varies from each other. All of it's pretty small because it is ordinal data. Ordinal data doesn't vary very much. So on average, advisor. Now here's where we get into the meat and potatoes, okay? So for ordinal data, you'll be wanting to focus on mean and median. If it's interval ratio, you can focus on median and mode rather. And for interval ratio data, you can focus on your averages. Now for this one, because it's ranked ordered, and there is ranking, you can look at the mean and get some decent information from it. So a median of 3 for our advisor, and we code it 3 as very helpful. So most students actually said their advisors are doing a good job. And you can see this is about half and half if you look at it. So this is where the average kind of reveals a little bit more. So the most occurring number was 3, but if you look at it and get the average, you can see it's actually split right down in the middle with just barely the 0.75 here showing that 3 won out on the median. So it's more like, okay, so advisors are doing a decent job to average job to, I would say average with 2.5. It's right in the middle. Semester. Was this semester helpful? Response was 2.35. About average is what it kind of comes out to be between 2 and 3, which between 2 and 3 would be somewhat helpful and very helpful. Same deal for professors. I believe the next one was safety. So safety is okay. So safety about in the middle. Professors, oddly enough, scored the highest out of all these except for stress. So professors doing okay. A little bit above average for professors. Oh no, I lied. This one's higher. What's 2 point? What is the one after professors? That is atmosphere. So okay, so the professors in the atmosphere doing pretty good according to the survey. And then we have stress. We have a stressed out bunch because this is the highest value with 3 on a mean. And the median is 3, and the mode's 4. So 4 actually occurred the most. So in other words, we're skewed towards very stressed. And then finally, how much time are you spending on social media? So 2.45, we can safely say, with a median of 2, mode of 2, we can safely say that most people are spending anywhere between an hour to 3 hours around that time on social media. So that's how you report that on the PowerPoint, but you'd only report it to the variables you're reporting on. So let's say that your dependent variable is how helpful your semester was. You would report this, you'd report your semester, you report the demographics on your people, and you report stress because you're saying stress influence semester satisfaction, and then you got to talk about the people as well. So it's 5 variables you have to report on. minimum. All right. Next is do bivariate analyses. Okay. So now that we're doing bivariate, this is correlations, crosstabs, chi-square, ANOVA, t-test. Okay. So let's go ahead and run the bivariate for this. I'm going to choose to do chi-square for this particular project. So let's go ahead and make our pivot table. And because we're not going to use chi-square with coded data, we're going to do the actual words because chi-square is categorical. So we're just going to highlight this, insert pivot table. I'm going to create it. As you know from the chi-square assignment, our ID goes into values. We're going to go to count. And we're interested in, for this case, semester satisfaction and stress. Okay? So we have here a cross tabulation or a cross tab of our variables that we're interested in. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and flip this. So your dependent variable should go in the rows, and we're saying that stress, we're saying the semester, okay, is influenced by stress. How happy you are. We have our stress in rows. We have our semester in rows because it's our dependent variable, and stress is influencing that, so it's the independent variable. All right, so let's go ahead and make a copy of this table. Make a blank copy. Paste special values. First thing we're going to do is we're going to clean up the table, get rid of these nasty zeros. So get rid of the zeros, delete, not delete, and we have our table. Next, we'll have to fill in our blanks with 0. Why is that? Well, because these blanks actually represent the number 0. So we can go ahead and put the number 0 in there because there's just a lack of a presence for these. It's not missing data. So now we have our table. Let's go ahead and clear this out. Copy. And now we have 3 tables. This is our original table. So for chi-square, it demands an actual table and a model table, or a predicted table, right? So let's go ahead and make our predicted table, if you remember straight in chi-square. Equal row times column divided by grand total. I'm going to go ahead and do this very quickly at the top. Well, first, let's go ahead and do it. So remember the F4 trick with the dollar signs? You're going to have to do that. And if you don't do that, remember this is what happens when you don't put the dollar signs in. Okay? It just messes up. So you need to put the dollar signs in. What we're doing here is we're creating a table that, okay, so all categories held equal weight. If everything was equal, then this is what would come out. Okay? So bop times dop dot. And then we got to get our stress going. Very stressed, rather. Times this divided by that. F for it. Enter. And here is our results. So this is the actual data. I'm going to highlight this as the actual data. Actual data. And this is our model data. This is what we're comparing this table to right here. We're comparing this table to this table because this is what chi-square does. Now, in a perfect world, okay, our model table would say we should have 4.5, very helpful, very stressed, but we have, 6, I mean, very helpful, extremely stressed, right? But we have 6. So This is over-indexing, not actual. That's fine. We're looking for numbers that are very different from one another, okay? Just kind of report on. So what is the interesting number here? For this one, it's probably here, okay? But let's see. We're going to go chi-test. And you can see that our I'm just checking to make sure everything calculated correctly. We don't have a very good return on it. In other words, not significant. There's no real difference being happened here. In other words, your stress does not seem to impact your satisfaction with how helpful your semester has been. And that's what you can report on. My survey says that stress is not impacting overall semester satisfaction towards your career goals. So you can move on. Make sure you add that in your PowerPoint. Did you accept or reject null hypothesis? Well, we just did that. We had to accept null because null is 0.74, meaning you have to accept null. Next, we move here. You got to report those stats, and now we do multivariate on your dependent, and you report those, and you create a conclusion slide. The last step is multivariate. We have not gotten to multivariate yet. That is coming up this week. And then once you do that, you can just turn into PowerPoint slides. It should be 6 to 8 slides, which is excluding the title slides. Submit your slides. You can email them to me, and then that's it. You're finished. Hopefully, this video has been helpful, and I'm going to show you a couple more things. Okay. So let's say that you want to do correlations. Okay. Well, let's go to our coded data. Let's do a correlation on stress and social media. Okay, easy enough. So if you hold down the control, you can click multiple ones. Insert, chart. I'm going to go line chart. It's kind of crazy, huh? So we're just going to do scatter. There we go. Now, so you can see here it's a very loose relationship for this. And you go to looking for here we go. Go to your series. Go to your trend line, and you can see it format a trend line. You can make this as opaque as you want. It's right here. I like to go with 100% opacity. I like to make my lines black, and the line thickness is as much as you want it to be. And you can see there is a positive correlation, as you know. In other words, as social media uses increases, stress for your semester also increases. Okay, so that's what if you do correlations, because you have to just compare that. And of course, for your correlation on this, equal coral stress column. This will be a positive correlation. Hit enter. Correlation of 0.12. So it's, slightly goes up. Also, it's ordinal data, so it's a little harder to take correlations on ordinal data, but you can see a relationship form from the graph itself. And that's all that there is for that. All right. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.